really exciting, and you know, and so many other, all the Oscar nominations and the British Academy Award nominations, 10 Academy Award nominations, Best Director, Best Screenplay. Did you have any idea when you came up with this idea, you know, of doing a little black and white silent movie, that you'd be here at this moment, you know?
What do you think? Of course. No, it was really unexpected. We didn't have any distributor when we made the movie. So when you don't have any distributor, you can't expect to... Yeah, we were looking away. I remember when we were going back to Paris with Bernice, we were looking away to screen the movie. I mean, for the crew and for the cast to see the movie. So we wanted to print a DVD, to send it here to the producer, and so when you're at this level, you don't think about Oscar nomination. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you how you did come up with this idea, because you've done this wonderful movies before, including those terrific OSS films with Jean Dujardin and Berenice Bejo, but how did you come up with this idea? Because nobody's really had this idea in 80 years. So this is kind of a new idea.
Actually, Mel Brooks made a silent movie.
Yeah.
And there's some guys who there was an American director who did Sidewalk Stories in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so they, from time to time, someone does a silent movie. And I think there's a lot of directors actually who had that desire, but they didn't do it, and this is good for me because I did. But yeah, it was a desire for a long time. I think for a lot of directors it's a fantasy. It's like the purest way to tell a story, and it's very challenging. And also, I mean, as an audience, I really love the way it works, the way the story is told, and how you're involved in the storytelling process and how you participate. And I mean, really, the device of the silent movies is great. So, yeah, I had this desire for a long time, and thanks to the OSS 117, which have been successes in France, I could take my chance to make this one.
Yeah, and James, let me ask you too, because beyond just the charm of it and the wonder of seeing this movie on the screen, it's really about something. It's got something to say, and you know, and something that I think a lot of people in the industry and outside of the industry relate to now, which is about the fast technology, things changing so fast, and just trying to keep up with it, trying to find a way to survive in a society that's changing right in front of your eyes. Can you talk about what attracted you to this and why you think this movie is also very important in that regard?
Well, it is interesting that the circumstances of the period in which the film was made are so similar today. Financial crisis, people worried about, you know, losing their houses and their jobs and having enough to eat, and that the movie industry addressed that. I mean, the entertainment, this medium was created basically to transport people out of the everyday anxiety of their existence into some dream of how it might be and could be if you persevered, if you had faith, if you cooperated, if you you know, came together. And it's quite wonderful. Actually, my father and mother came at the same period to sort of issue in sound because they were from the theater. And my father, of course, these are transitions, and my father went through one similarly in Hollywood because he was blacklisted. And that changed to me. That was another transition in which my father lost his position and was fired and lost his friends and was depressed, and he found a way out, which was the theater. And now we're in the same boat again. So I think people recognize, Michel has said that the story is a contemporary story. It happens to be set in the 20s, but all of us can relate to what the arc of George's character, what he goes through, and Berenice's characters, the support that she has for Georges Valentine. It's important for another reason, because I think it shows to audiences, and most especially to filmmakers, the idea that you don't have to make films in the conventional wisdom and conventions of Hollywood, which seems to get more and more complicated and more distant from recognizable human experience, immediate felt experience, into car chases and explosions. And it's very, very inspiring that somebody can make, Michel calls them devices, but the simplicity of this form and its form of storytelling, that the effect that it has on audiences, I think Hollywood will notice, I think everybody else will notice, oh, it's really the artist in us that creates the event, not the technology that's thrown at a poor or misguided story.
And Michel, I want to throw some props out, not only for your direction, for which you've been richly rewarded already, but also your original screenplay. Because a lot of people, and you're nominated for an Academy Award for that, because a lot of people think, oh, well, if there isn't dialogue, they're speaking, it's not written. But as you can tell the way he was talking and everything else, this is very much written, like any screenplay, and has some rich things to say.
Yes, thank you for saying it. And actually, to me anyway, the dialogues is really the last thing you put on a script, but it's not so, what's really important is the story. There's maybe Jean Gabin, the French actor?
Yeah.
Once someone told him, what do you need for, say yes to a film, and what do you think a good movie needs? And he said, first, a good story, second, a good story, and third, a good story. And you don't need dialogues for that. And actually, to me, it was the most challenging part was of the entire process was the writing, because I had to put on paper a story that I knew I could shoot with no dialogues, with some sequences that I knew I could ask to actors without feeling I'm ridiculous because they can't do it. I don't know if that makes sense, but what happened is you have to tell a story which works organically with sequences that could be funny or entertaining or touching or emotional, and you don't have words, you just have images. So the tools are not the same. The goals are the same, but the tools are not the same. So I really had to relearn how to make it. But in another hand, it was very freeing, because when you say I won't use words, what you really say is I will use images. So I'm sure that in a way people want to see unusual images. So you dare to do things that usually I wouldn't dare. And also it was, as I said, it was really a desire. So when it's a desire, you don't watch what's difficult. You see why you wanted to make it. So you see the good part of the thing. But the script was really, for me, the most challenging part. After on set, for me it was like another movie. I have my shots, the actors, the location, camera, the crew. Technically, it was the same. Yeah.
Now, Penelope, you're the only one up here who's actually made silent movies before. Because she was in Chaplin and within Chaplin. Well, you tell the story. But
yeah, I'm the veteran. I did a movie called Chaplin with Robert Downey Jr. and I played Edna Purviance. Thank you. Sir Richard Attenborough. And I played a silent film actress in that. And so we reenacted some of the scenes that Chaplin and Edna did together. So the whole movie wasn't silent. It was about a silent film star, Charlie Chaplin. But yes, I did have experience, which could have helped in the casting, perhaps, when they came to me, because if you're making a silent film, I'm the go-to girl. So yeah, I don't know if I'll get a third chance, but so if anyone's out there, but yeah, I was so surprised that when your agent calls and says, okay, well, they're making a silent film, it's black and white, and there's no money. It's not that big a part, and the director is a name that I can't even pronounce, nor have I ever heard of. And the two leads are already cast, and they're French, and it's about Hollywood. Sounds like my kind of film. I was definitely surprised, and I was kind of, very intrigued, and very excited, actually, because I'm very nostalgic about old Hollywood and the 20s, and I live in a home that was built in the 20s. Dolores Del Rio lived in my home, who's a silent film star, and so any opportunity I have to pretend I live in the golden age of Hollywood, I take. I had no idea anyone would see the movie. I felt like I would come out unscathed if the movie bombed and we all made fools of ourselves. And if it didn't, then, and here we are. I really did it because of my love and passion for old movies, and Michel shared that passion, and I think everybody who did this movie had that same feeling about doing this film. But there were a lot of actors, I have to tell you, that my agent said didn't even want to go near it. And I'm sure they're kicking themselves right now. So I'm glad some people said no, and I can say yes.
Well, Missi, you actually went in, I think you thought you were reading for Penelope's role, right?
I did read for her part. I went in and I actually auditioned for the film, as one does occasionally, as you probably haven't done in a long time. But I went in and I was in a commercial castings office, and it was a little odd, and it was a pretty big room, and I remember getting the same call. Do you want to do an audition for a black and white? So I'm sure. Why wouldn't you? The obvious reason. But I went and Heidi was there, and I remember thinking, it was that scene in the kitchen with in the dining room. Thank you. Which scene?
Citizen Kane moment.
Yes. And I auditioned for it. And I remember sort of, not because I hadn't learned this in drama school, how to act in a silent film. So I was like, and Heidi was like, you can speak. We're just not going to record it. I was like, oh, I'm so mad at it. But it was very freeing, and I was like, wow. And I remember thinking, God, it was really good. Because as you don't have to learn your dialogue, so you don't have to think about that. That was very exciting. And then I finished, and I was like, that was maybe one of the best auditions I've ever had. And I got the call, and I was like, I'm playing the wife. And then I got to the set, and they were like, you're playing the actress. And I was like, I'm an actress. Yes. They're crazy. But then I looked at the sides, because there were sides, but they were more like, it was just the story. It was the pages from the script, and I was like, where's the scene with the wife and the dog? And then, no, I was
You really wanted to work with Uggy in those scenes.
Which I did end up getting to work with Uggy quite a bit. I ended up carrying little sausages inside my gloves, which was kind of gross after a while.
You probably had to do that for other co-stars. Heidi, I got to ask you, we mentioned that it's a French director.